Lawrence Okolie's own promoter, Eddie Hearn, was asked on Sky Sports midway through the fight what he thought of the action. And Eddie Hearn suggested that his own fighter, Lawrence Okolie, should be deducted more points for the incessant holding that he was initiating throughout the fight. And after the fight, Dylan White, who was working as a pundit for Sky Sports, suggested that Lawrence Okolie should have been disqualified for the incessant holding throughout the fight. And I think Matthew Macklin suggested something similar, if memory serves me correct. And I can only agree. And look, I like Lawrence Okolie. I respect what he's done, at least for his first 9 fights. But that performance right there against Matty Askin was a disgrace. That was a disgrace. And I'm not going to suggest that he should have been disqualified. I'm going to outright say and state that he definitely should have been disqualified for that performance. He was incessantly holding. That is probably the second worst instance of illegal holding in a professional boxing match that I've ever seen in my entire life. This was worse than Henry Akinwande against Lennox Lewis. And Henry Akinwande was disqualified against Lennox Lewis. They disqualified him in a WBC World Heavyweight title fight. In this fight here, Lawrence Okolie should count himself lucky that the referee, Victor Lachlan, only deducted points. I believe he deducted 3 points. Yeah, 3 points he was deducted. He should count himself lucky that he was only deducted points and wasn't disqualified, because that level of holding, that was actually disgusting. Now, I gave him a pass for his performance against Isaac Chamberlain, where he boxed in a similar fashion to this, with just constant, incessant falling in and holding. But to do it twice now in a space of 3 fights, it's really unforgivable. And you really wonder why he does it. Is it because he's anxious when guys get close to him? Is it because of the magnitude of the event? Because remember, he was headlining the O2 when he fought Isaac Chamberlain, and it was a similar hugfest. And this time he was fighting on the AJ undercard at Wembley. So is it just the nerves, the anxiousness gets to him and he just falls into this safety first routine of constantly holding and shutting down his opponent's offense? I don't know what it is, but all I do know is that that was disgraceful. And I think it would have done Lawrence Okolie good to have been disqualified, to be honest with you. Because then he'd have a loss on his record and he'd think, you know what, I can't keep doing this. I need to get it together. When I fight in one of these big fights, I need to learn how to actually keep a guy off without fouling all the time. And I'm sure there are going to be some Lawrence supporters, some of Lawrence's friends may be watching this video. And look, this is not to try and diss Lawrence personally or anything like that, but I'm just telling you from a boxing standpoint. Forget about how great Lawrence is as a person. Let's just talk about from a boxing standpoint. As a competitor in the ring, you could hardly have put in a worse performance than that, other than losing, obviously. And to be honest with you, he should have lost. Like I say, he should have been disqualified. And Matty Askin, I said this on social media, Matty Askin should be aggrieved that he's lost his British Cruiserweight title in that fight. Matty Askin should be putting in a complaint with the British Board of Boxing Control to try and have that decision or that result overturned. Because how can you win a fight fouling that much? You shouldn't be allowed to walk away with a belt when you're committing that many fouls. If you want to get technical, maybe Okolie landed 1 or 2 more clean shots and you could say, okay, because of that, you give him the decision. But he should never have been able to get through 12 rounds using those tactics. The fight might have been very, very different indeed if Okolie hadn't been allowed to hold incessantly like that. It was actually disgusting. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Matty Askin seriously needs to file a complaint with the British Board of Boxing Control and get that result overturned. Because that, speechless. The only worst case of holding I've ever seen in my entire life than that was Vladimir Klitschko when he fought Povetkin. Vladimir Klitschko was actually worse than that in terms of the holding. Now, Vladimir Klitschko did a lot more punching. Well, he did a lot better quality punching than Lawrence Okolie did against Povetkin. But Vladimir Klitschko did just as much holding, and not only that, he actually did a lot of leaning where he would push Povetkin's head down to the point where Klitschko's own feet left the canvas on several occasions because he was putting so much weight on the back of Povetkin's neck. I mean, it was absurd. There's a video that you can watch online called Vladimir Klitschko Illegal Tactics. Shocking, or something like that. Vladimir Klitschko Illegal Tactics. Shocking. Type that into YouTube and you'll see it highlights all the the clinching and leaning and all that kind of business all the way through the fight. That is by far and away the worst example of holding, leaning, clinching, just illegal clinching, fouling. The worst incident I've ever seen of it in my entire life was Klitschko Povetkin. But this is second. People, I've been watching boxing for decades, right, since the 80s. So I've seen a hell of a lot of boxing matches. I've seen a hell of a lot of stuff go on. And I've seen a lot of guys clinch. I've seen guys go out there and purposely clinch to try to get themselves disqualified, like Jesse Ferguson did against Mike Tyson. But this right here, Okolie, his performance against Askin, that's, jeez, man, that was so terrible. He should have been disqualified. And as I say, I think it would have done him some good to get disqualified there. Now, if you want to talk about some positives, God, are there any positives? All you can say is Lawrence Okolie is very physically strong, because whenever he does this, nobody can do anything about it. His opponents can't do anything because Okolie is so flipping strong for, for a cruiserweight. There's nothing they can do when he puts the octopus arms on him and pushes him back. Matty Askin is no small cruiserweight himself. He's a decent sized cruiserweight. I would say he looked bigger than someone like an Isaac Chamberlain, but he just wasn't able to do anything when Okolie was wrapping him up. So Okolie is very physically strong. And I think part of that comes down to the fact that he spars all these massive heavyweights all the time, like Joshua, like Daniel Dubois, so on and so forth. So he's sparring very, very big, strong men who are much stronger than the cruiserweights he's been getting in there with to fight. But yeah, he's 10-0 Lawrence Okolie, so on paper, it all looks very good. But those two performances against Chamberlain and Askin, they were against domestic rivals. And again, on paper, you have to give him credit for that. But the manner in which he won those fights was so ugly and so illegal, particularly in the Askin fight, that you have to ask serious questions. I just hope this, Lawrence can learn from this. I hope he can learn from this. I hope he can get it together, because if this is how he's going to react anytime he's in a high pressure fight, anytime he's got an opponent walking him down, if this is how he's going to react, then he ain't going to go nowhere in the cruiserweight division. Once he starts fighting, European level, world level against the top guys from Eastern Europe and, wherever else, man, he is going to get disqualified. So he needs to learn how to box properly, control his nerves. And look, you can clinch in professional boxing, but let's be clear, excessive holding, excessive clinching is illegal. It is totally illegal. You're not allowed to do it. Because I've had debates with people who say, oh, you can clinch it. No, listen. The excessive holding in boxing is and always has been illegal. And if that was an excessive holding, I don't know what is. Yeah? So, should have been disqualified. Matty Askin should still be the British champion. And there's a pattern developing here with Lawrence Okolie. So, moving forward, man, he needs to sort himself out mentally. And I would say, technically, he also needs to sort himself out. But I think it's more of a mental thing than a technical thing. I'm sure they do in the gym teach him how to throw short punches and exchange on the inside. But I just think he gets nervous when someone gets close to him, especially on a big stage like this. He just seems to get nervous, and his default defense mechanism is just to grab you as soon as you get anywhere close to him. He wants you to stay at a certain distance Just like Klitschko did against Povetkin, because Klitschko was anxious. Anytime Povetkin got remotely close to him, Klitschko was so anxious. He literally jumped onto Povetkin's back, leaning down on him with his feet, coming off the canvas. It was crazy. It was crazy. Thankfully, though, one thing I will say is that the referee, even though he was lenient on Okolie, he was a bit more, let me not say harsh, because he wasn't harsh on Okolie, but he enforced the rules, right? The referee in the Okolie Askin fight enforced the rules a bit better than the referee in the Klitschko Povetkin fight. I'll say that. But yeah, those two performances are right up there. They are the worst instances of clinching, illegal holding I've ever seen in professional boxing in all my life. Worse than Akinwande against Lennox Lewis. Yeah. And Akinwande got disqualified, rightfully so. So don't know where Lawrence Okolie is really going to go moving forward, because yeah, he's won the British title and he's done good things on paper at British level, but the performances are just so bad. 2 out of the last 3, so ugly. It needs to be addressed. How is he going to sell himself? How is he going to be able to continue to sell tickets when he's putting in performances like that? How is he going to improve as a fighter? Again, this is not MMA. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe Lawrence should look at going into MMA if that's how he's going to continue to fight. Because this is not MMA. You have to use your fists in this game. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm out.